We are talking to Donna Hoffman about making your home as beautiful as it can be for the right budget, and that's a real key. Talking about picking the right designer for you, interior design, and of course I should say that you're the interior design advocate, and I love that you use the word advocate because it just shows so much about you, that advocacy.
Thanks. It's so important. You know, design is such a gift, and it's a luxury. But there's a right way to do it, and you want to make sure you have the right team, the right builder with you, the right designer with you, and if you are do-it-yourselfer, you at least want to make sure you're armed with the right information to make as strong and wise a choice as possible so that you're not wasting dollars, time, resources.
Yeah, absolutely. So get me started. I mean, what's the first thing you do when you're trying to find the right designer?
Well, referral's always best, but if you want to interview more than one designer or you don't have a referral to go with, you can by all means Google in your area, put in best designer and either your county or your city, see who comes up and start to look at some websites. You can also go to a great site called Houzz, HOUZZ.com. It's a really popular site right now, and both professional designers as well as builders will showcase their work there, and you can surf that to see who in your area is doing work that you like. So that's your starting point.
Okay, and then so you seek the referrals, and do you say, what's your rate? Is that?
Well, you're going to want to know your designer's rate, by all means, but you don't ever want to start that first conversation with the design company or the designer saying, hi, what do you charge? Because if you do that, you're pretty much going to be thought of as kind of a tire kicker or a dialing for designers kind of person, not necessarily a serious design client. The better strategy is to say, hi, my name is Donna Hoffman. I really want to work on a new master bedroom suite, and I'd love to talk to you about our project, our goals, our timeline, as well as learn more about your processes, how you work, as well as how your fees work. So you start out with my project, how your processes work, and what are your fees. Then you're going to sound like a serious design client, and you'll be taken seriously on the other side of the phone.
And so at that point, they know that, yes, of course, you have a budget, but you're not all about the dollars.
Of course, and you should have a budget, and you must never feel embarrassed or self-conscious talking to your designer about your budget. That's like being afraid to tell your doctor, hey, I gained 3 pounds, and I'm not sleeping at night. You got to, you have to know who's on your team and share with them the important information, because nothing can happen in design without a budget. The budget drives everything, whether it's a huge budget, a mid-sized budget, or a really pressed budget. Your designer needs to know what your expectations are.
But I love what you've told me in the past, that in fact a good designer works if you're a young couple and you're just starting out, and you have a small budget or a big budget.
Right.
They should not double whatever you're telling them.
Oh, no. That's called scope creep. When the size of your project starts to grow, creep outwards, that's one type of scope creep. The other is budget scope creep, and the designer should never push budget scope creep. Clients are the ones that push that. It's the client, seriously, who'll say, hey, you know what, Donna? I kind of like that table more. My answer is, okay, we can do that. It's going to press our budget. We either need to increase the budget or make up some ground somewhere else and drop down in quality someplace else. That's not my choice, my decision to make as the designer, though. That's yours as the client.
You probably deal with couples like that, where one spouse is saying, oh, I love this, and the other one's like, whoa, let's watch the budget here. So you
Absolutely, yes, and a good designer will know how to bring a couple together, find their balance point in terms of their design style that they both like, and as well as making sure that everybody is heard in the budget talks. Budgeting is really this phase of a client project phase that clients least like. It makes them uncomfortable. Yeah. It's really a designer's job to make it as comfortable and logical a process for them as possible.
Okay, let's look at the next point we have on the screen, talking about picking the right designer for you. And how do you go about that? I mean, when you're looking at this, so the designers know what kind of designer you want. You touched on this a little bit earlier.
Absolutely. We talked about, do you want somebody whose style you're purchasing and they're really going to just kind of do it their way and you're coming along for the ride? Do you want somebody who's more collaborative? And let's talk a little bit about the kind of designer you don't want. I'd love to see you avoid the flaky designer. That's the designer who's so creative, so talented, and so artistic, but they don't have that other skill set where they know how to dot the I's, cross the T's, handle all the details. So when you're interviewing, you want to ask questions like, talk to me about how organized you are. Talk to me about some of your processes. I would also like to see you avoid what I call the salesy salesperson. One of the reasons that I'm the interior design advocate is that about 100 years ago, before I was a designer, I was a design client. And I'll never forget the very first designer my husband and I interviewed walked into our home. She had wallpaper books tucked under her arms, fabric books with her. She didn't know a thing about us in design. She didn't know who we were, what our priorities were, what we were trying to accomplish, but she knew she wanted to sell us wallpaper, and a lot of it. Needless to say, we didn't hire her. You should feel that the designer that you're working with is on your team. They're there to steward and marshal your project. And yes, they might be able to bring you goods that you cannot purchase at retail. Those are called to-the-trade goods, in which case they are selling them directly to you. But your designer should also say, you know what, Dawn, since you loved that beautiful break front or that wonderful credenza, let's see if we can go to that store to find a coffee table that'll be in a better price point to get back into the budget goals that we have. So a good design advocate should be able to sell you product as well as tell you, hey, don't purchase this from me because I only have access to the trade, better made goods, and that will always land at a larger invested cost.
And do you believe people should call on the references? I mean, actually check on the references?
Oh, yeah. I'm always amazed when I'm sitting in an early meeting with a client and they say, Donna, we want to hire you. Where do we sign? And I'll say, wait a minute, did you check my references? Oh, no, Marty recommended you to us. I'll say, that's not good enough. I want you to call my references and I want you to ask some tough questions. Ask questions about, what might have gone wrong for that client. Hopefully nothing if they're my reference, but you want to ask tough questions. Did anything happen during the project that you weren't happy with? Did the designer do anything that you weren't happy with or comfortable with? Would you work with this designer again? You absolutely want to ask tough questions and call those references, all of them.
I also think it's important to share with people, make sure they know where you're at in your life. If you're going to adopt a dog, I know we're both dog people, we're both moms, you
Yep.
have, where are your kids at? What are they like? What if you're adopting a dog, maybe you don't, I had a dog chew 2 brand new couches.
Right. That's part of the client intake procedure that a professional and good designer will use, and we will ask questions like, how old are the children in the home? Are there pets? Will pets be coming to the home? As well as, are there any health issues in the home? Are there allergies in the family? We just worked with doing a design for a great client. 2 years prior, they'd worked with another design team who filled their home with down feathered product, and there's a down allergy in the home. The client didn't know to tell the designer, but that designer should have known to ask. Is there a health issue? So thousands of dollars were wasted, literally. And we were replacing sofas that were only 2 years old. Broke my heart. So wasteful.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, when we come right back, when our conversation continues, Donna's going to answer some of your questions when the Dawn Show continues.